with the recent change that on conventional loans backed by Fannie and Freddie that now are going to require 12 months of seasoning before you can do a cash out refinance, do you think that this is going to hinder the BRRR strategy? And do you think this is a knee jerk reaction towards investors to try to slow them down in some of the hotter markets? Go ahead and start us out, RJ.
Do I think it's going to hinder investors? No, because we are resourceful and we will do whatever is necessary to do what our end objective is. And case in point, what we're moving into, and we've had numerous conversations about this, we're going to be buying more properties on seller finance terms. We're going to be buying more properties subject to the existing mortgages. So is it going to impact the BRRRR strategy? Potentially for some people that might not be set up. You know, Leon was talking about this. I'm similar to Leon, where this isn't going to impact my ability to go out. I'm taking out the commercial loans when I'm refinancing. And is it a knee-jerk reaction to try to slow down investors? Potentially, because I think there's people out there that want to see the activity by investors to slow down. They think that's what's needed in the marketplace, but I don't think it's going to give them the end result that they want.
Got it. All right, I like it. Next up, Leon, what you got?
Like RJ, I don't think this slows down the investor that is a full-time investor and has been for applying the BRRRR strategy for many years, because most of the loans that we're taking out to use the BRRRR strategy are commercial loans. So this doesn't apply to us, but it does the newer investor that maybe started out wholesaling and is starting to hold some properties to build wealth. So it may slow them down a little bit, but as RJ said, real estate investors that continue to grow are resourceful. Like, for instance, on the 90-day flip rule for FHA seasoning, you can novate that. You can get around that by novating it. Well, that wasn't something until Eric, and shout out to Eric Brewer for the Brewer method, that wasn't something that was available, or at least it wasn't, not many people knew about it until Eric brought it to mainstream. But there's always going to be a way to work around these things. I would just caution that when these type of changes are made, they're typically made because someone is doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And I know that there's more regulation coming as you see more and more people getting into this space. So I just caution those when they see this type of regulation. Things like this come from those that are not playing within the rules.
That's a very, very good point, Leon. Generally, anytime you see any kind of regulation, it's somebody got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. All right, CJ, what are your thoughts, boss?
Yeah. So here's the reality, right? Like, this really only affects the everyday or the armchair, what I would call respectfully, right? The armchair investor.
Good old respectfully.
Full-time investors, people who do this for a living, they're not even taking down these type of loan products. These are generally people that have full-time jobs or something to that effect, that are trying to pull down financing for their first few rentals or something like that. I think that there's a lot of people that this hasn't been really discussed a lot, but I think there's a lot of people in those situations that in the last, year and a half, 2 years, have lost their shirt during COVID when dealing with things like people not paying rent and trying to use the rent relief program and things like that. I think a lot of people that don't do this every day have gotten into very tough positions because they may not have been set up financially to deal with the black swan event and having to cover multiple mortgages and things of that nature. Maybe that led to this type of regulation. But, does it have a long-term effect on the market, investors? No. And if you really look deep into the data, it's not even really us, the individual small business owner investors, that are taking down a lot of these properties. It's really institutional money that's coming in and taking down the bulk of these properties in these major metro areas. So no, I don't think this has a great impact at all on the market whatsoever.
Okay. Steve, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's going to affect the market at all, but I think it will affect a number of investors that this is their particular strategy. I think like what Chris was talking about, the guys there working 9 to 5, that someone's sending them a deal that they can buy it, and they do a regular refinance. Jimmy talks about it. Jimmy Vreeland, he was the winner last week. Suspect wise. Anyway, he preaches with your 9 to 5, buy 10 properties, right? Using the conventional mortgage. It might affect the mainstream or, the general community, the middle class, you might say, that's trying to buy rental properties. But for most investors, it won't be a problem because we are, like RJ said, we're all resourceful. And on top of that, there's always going to be a buyer, right? Regardless of that particular exit strategy. As far as a knee-jerk reaction, probably. I have no faith, right, in the upper, the upper, what would you call it, upper class, the elite class. They're passing things all the time that don't help anybody and oftentimes harm the general community.